Stop what you're doing and listen, because what I'm about to reveal will completely change the way you see attraction, power, and relationships. Most men spend their entire lives chasing approval, trying to impress or hoping someone notices them, and it never works. They think attraction is about money, looks, or status, but that's a lie they've been fed. The truth is far deeper. There's one quality, just one, that makes a man irresistible, unforgettable, and magnetic to younger women, and it's something almost no one talks about. And if you don't understand it, you will keep losing out while other men effortlessly attract attention without even trying. I'm going to show you exactly what women sense in a man that no amount of charm, flashy cars, or confidence can replicate. It's not obvious, it's not superficial, and it cannot be faked. Most men never even notice it in themselves, and that's why they fail. But once you understand it, once you embody it, the world reacts differently. Women are drawn to it instinctively. They feel it before they even know what it is. It's a magnetic pull that starts silently, grows louder, and suddenly there's no turning back. By the time this video is over, you will know how to develop this rare, powerful quality. You'll understand why emotional mastery, stability, self-control, and compassion are not just words. They are the keys to becoming the man who commands respect, trust, and desire naturally. If you watch until the end, you'll discover how to transform yourself into someone women notice immediately, someone who doesn't chase but attracts, and someone who leaves a mark that cannot be ignored. So pay attention, because what you're about to hear will shock you, challenge you, and change the way you live your life. And by the end of this video, you won't just see attraction differently, you'll become the kind of man who creates it effortlessly. Let's start with something that most people completely miss. When we talk about attraction, especially between older men and younger women, people automatically think it's about money, status, or physical looks. They think it's about flashy cars, expensive watches, or a six-pack that makes Instagram explode. But here's the truth. What really makes a man irresistible is almost invisible. It's not something you can buy. It's not something you can fake. It's something that comes from within, and it's called emotional groundedness. Emotional groundedness is that deep, quiet power a man carries when he's fully in control of his mind, his reactions, and his life. It's a kind of calm strength that doesn't need to shout to be noticed. And that calmness, that stability, it's magnetic. Women feel it almost instantly. They might not know why, but it's like an instinct that draws them in. When you are grounded, you become a safe harbor in the middle of a chaotic world. You don't just appear stable, you are stable. And that level of confidence, that internal mastery, is something that younger women, especially in a world full of unstable, reactive men, cannot resist. Think about it. How often do you see a man lose his cool over something small, an argument, a misunderstanding, a challenge at work? It happens all the time. Most men let their emotions control them, and people notice. But the man who has learned to control himself, who can respond instead of react, who can stay calm when everything else is falling apart, he's rare. That rarity is what makes him powerful. It's not loud. It doesn't come from dominance or aggression. It comes from something quieter, something deeper. It's the silent assurance that no matter what happens, he can handle it. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Women are wired to sense this. It's not about consciously analyzing a man's behavior. It's instinctual. It's almost evolutionary. A man who is emotionally grounded signals safety, security, and competence, all the traits a woman subconsciously looks for when assessing a potential partner. Younger women, especially, are at a stage where they are figuring out the world, themselves, and what they truly want. When they meet a man who doesn't wobble, who doesn't panic, who doesn't need constant validation, something clicks inside them. They feel drawn, almost magnetically. They feel a calm they didn't even know they were searching for. Now, emotional groundedness isn't just about being calm or not getting angry. That's the surface. It goes much deeper. It's about understanding yourself, accepting yourself, and being honest about who you are. It's about facing your own fears and insecurities and not letting them dictate your lie. Faye, a grounded man, doesn't run from discomfort. He faces it. He doesn't blame others for his mistakes. He learns from them, and he doesn't rely on external approval to feel worthy. That self-sufficiency, that internal balance, creates a kind of aura that can't be replicated by money, status, or charm. And let's be very clear, this isn't about being stoic or emotionless. Emotional groundedness doesn't mean suppressing feelings or being detached. It means acknowledging emotions, understanding them, and responding in a way that serves you, not one that controls you. It's the difference between losing your temper at a small argument and calmly asserting your boundaries while staying respectful. It's the difference between reacting to a stressful situation with panic versus navigating it with clarity and strategy. Women recognize this instantly because it signals maturity, competence, and trustworthiness. You see, most younger women are used to men who overreact, men who are inconsistent, men who seek approval at every turn. It's exhausting. They're surrounded by instability, drama, and chaos. So when a man comes along who has mastered himself, it's not just attractive, it's almost hypnotic. It stands out in stark contrast to the world they see every day. They don't have to think about why they feel drawn to him. They just feel it. It's like a gravitational pull. And here's the philosophical truth behind it. Attraction is never really about superficial qualities. It's a reflection of energy, presence, and internal alignment. A man who is grounded radiates energy that communicates without words that he is reliable, capable, and secure. Women are naturally attuned to that energy because it subconsciously tells them this man can handle life, he can handle me, he can handle us. That is the core of irresistible attraction, and it is invisible yet undeniable. Now imagine applying this in your own life. Imagine walking into any room, any conversation, any situation, carrying that calm, steady energy. Imagine facing challenges without panic, setbacks without losing confidence, and interactions without the need to impress or prove yourself. That level of self-control, that mastery over your internal state, doesn't just make you attractive to women, it transforms how the world responds to you. People instinctively respect, admire, and follow someone who is grounded. That's why this quality is so powerful. It's rare, it's deeply human, and it's transformative. The most shocking part? Emotional groundedness is entirely within your control. It's not something you're born with, it's something you cultivate. It comes from self-awareness, discipline, reflection, and a willingness to face uncomfortable truths about yourself. It comes from learning to manage your mind and emotions instead of letting them manage you. And as you cultivate it, you don't just become more attractive, you become someone who commands respect, trust, and yes, desire. So here's the takeaway. If you want to become irresistible, not just superficially, but at the deepest, most magnetic level, start with yourself. Start by building emotional groundedness. Calm your mind, master your reactions, and embrace who you are. Because the man who is grounded doesn't have to chase, he doesn't have to convince, he doesn't have to perform. The world and the right woman simply takes notice, and once she senses it, once she feels it, there's no turning back. Remember this, attraction is a reflection of your internal state. Master yourself, cultivate your calm, and the rest will follow naturally. Become the man who is unshakable, confident, and grounded, and you won't just attract attention, you'll leave a mark that cannot be ignored. Now, let's take this a step further, because emotional groundedness alone is just the beginning. What makes it truly magnetic is how it translates into stability. And here's where the real power comes in. Stability isn't just a quality you notice, it's a feeling. And feelings are everything when it comes to attraction. Women, especially younger women, are not simply looking for someone to impress them with words or status. What they crave, often without realizing it, is a man who provides a sense of safety in a world that feels unpredictable and overwhelming. And make no mistake, stability signals safety in a way that is primal, almost instinctual. Think about it for a moment. Life today is messy. Relationships, careers, emotions, and social expectations are constantly shifting. Most people navigate it by reacting, overthinking, or seeking constant reassurance. Chaos becomes normal. And in this environment, a man who remains steady, composed, and in control of himself stands out immediately. He doesn't add to the chaos. He doesn't escalate tensio. He doesn't fall apart when things get difficult. He becomes a center point, a quiet anchor in a stormy sea. And that, more than any charm, money, or superficial trait, is what makes him irresistible. When a younger woman senses stability in a man, it communicates something much deeper than physical attraction. It communicates trustworthiness. It communicates that he is someone who can handle challenges, someone who won't crumble under pressure, someone who can provide both emotional and practical security. This is why emotional stability is often more attractive than youth, looks, or even intelligence. It is an unspoken promise: you can rely on me. I will not betray your trust. I will not react in fear or anger. I am steady. I am strong. I am here. That level of reassurance creates a magnetic pull that is almost impossible to resist. Let me be very clear. Stability does not mean rigidity or emotional numbness. It is not about suppressing feelings or pretending to be invulnerable. True stability comes from awareness and control. It is the ability to experience emotions fully while not letting them dictate your actions. It is knowing how to handle uncertainty, conflict, or disappointment without losing composure. It is choosing your responses rather than being hijacked by your impulses. That ability to respond thoughtfully, calmly, and intentionally is the ultimate signal of reliability, and it resonates on a deeply subconscious level with women. Now, consider this: younger women are naturally drawn to men who offer this kind of energy because it contrasts sharply with the instability they are used to encountering. In a world where attention spans are short, egos are fragile, and drama is constant, a man who remains grounded and composed becomes magnetic by default. He doesn't have to try to impress. He doesn't have to chase or perform. The stability itself does the work. It draws women in like a silent, powerful current that they feel before they even realize why they feel it. This is where philosophy and psychology intersect. Human beings are wired to seek safety. Evolution has taught us that in order to thrive, we need reliable, stable partners, people whose presence signals that danger is minimal and that support is constant. Younger women, consciously or unconsciously, are evaluating a man's stability because it signals whether he can be trusted, whether he can protect, whether he can navigate life's challenges without collapsing. Emotional instability, on the other hand, creates anxiety, uncertainty, and discomfort, qualities that repel rather than attract. Stability, therefore, is not just attractive, it is compelling, almost magnetic. And here's the fascinating part: the energy of stability spreads. It is contagious. When a man is stable, people around him, friends, colleagues, and women alike, feel a sense of calm. Tension decreases, doubts fade, decisions become clearer. This kind of influence is invisible, but it is profoundly powerful. A man who masters this doesn't just attract attention, he inspires respect, admiration, and trust. That is why emotional and behavioral stability is far more effective than superficial gestures in creating lasting attraction. Now, let's connect this back to the core of what makes older men so appealing to younger women. It's not just about age, it's about what experience has taught him. Life has tested him, challenged him, and forced him to grow. Along the way, he's learned that losing control, overreacting, or seeking validation from others only leads to chaos. He's discovered that stability, calm, consistent, deliberate presence is not only a survival skill, but a magnet for influence and attraction. This is why the older man who is truly grounded in himself seems to have an almost effortless allure. He radiates safety and competence in a way that younger men often cannot. And here's the subtle, often overlooked truth: stability signals safety not only in moments of calm, but more importantly, in moments of crisis. Women, whether consciously or subconsciously, are always assessing whether a man can handle challenges, financial, emotional, social, or otherwise. Stability reassures them that no matter what happens, this man will navigate the storm without panic or drama. That reassurance creates trust, admiration, and yes, deep attraction. Stability is the silent language of confidence, and women hear it loud and clear. Now imagine the impact of embracing this quality in your own life. Imagine walking into every situation, relationship, career, family, with a calm presence that others feel immediately. Imagine making decisions with clarity instead of anxiety. Imagine responding to conflict with composure instead of chaos. Imagine being the man who, simply by existing in this energy, draws people in, inspires trust, and commands respect. That is the transformative power of stability. And the most incredible part is that this is entirely within your control. You not need wealth, status, or physical perfection to cultivate it. You cultivate it by mastering your mind, understanding your emotions, and practicing self-discipline. You cultivate it by learning to respond instead of react. You cultivate it by building a presence that is steady, reliable, and confident. That energy cannot be faked. It is earned through consistent self-mastery, reflection, and growth. So, if you truly want to become irresistible, begin by focusing on stability. Ground yourself in your thoughts, actions, and emotions. Become the man who others can rely on, the man who stays calm when life gets messy, the man who radiates competence and safety. Because when you do, you won't just attract younger women, you'll attract respect, loyalty, and admiration from everyone around you. Stability doesn't just make you appealing, it makes you unforgettable. Remember this, attraction is not about superficial traits. Attraction is about energy, presence, and internal alignment. Stabby. Liti signals safety, and safety is one of the most powerful forces in human connection. Master it, live it, embody it, and you will not only become irresistible, you will become the kind of man the world quietly, unavoidably notices. Now, let's take a moment to understand something that most people completely overlook. What makes a man truly magnetic, truly irresistible, isn't just that he is emotionally grounded, isn't just that he exudes stability. No, what gives him a kind of power that others can't compete with is rarity. And this is where the game changes. Because in a world where almost every man is reactive, insecure, or desperate for attention, the man who possesses these qualities, calm, composed, grounded, is rare. And rarity, as you're about to realize, is magnetic. Think about it. Walk into any room, scroll through social media, look at the dating world around you. How many men do you see who are genuinely confident without arrogance? How many men do you see who are steady, who can handle criticism without lashing out, who can navigate life without drama? Not many. Most men are either seeking approval, reacting emotionally, or performing for validation. And here's the secret, people, and especially women, can sense it instantly. When you are rare, when you embody traits that most men cannot, it creates a gravitational pull that is almost impossible to resist. Rarity is a psychological trigger. It's deeply rooted in how humans assess value. We naturally pay attention to what is scarce because scarcity implies worth, competence, and exceptional capability. If everyone could do what you do, it wouldn't stand out. But the man who is truly grounded, stable, and self-assured, he stands apart. He is the exception to the rule, and the mind instinctively notices exceptions. Women, whether consciously or unconsciously, are drawn to men who are exceptional because it signals strength, mastery, and the ability to rise above the ordinary chaos that surrounds them. Let's be clear about what rarity really means. It's not about being flashy or dramatic. It's not about showing off or trying to appear impressive. In fact, the rarest men often go unnoticed at first glance. Their power is subtle, invisible to the casual observer. It comes from inner mastery, from having faced life's challenges and emerged stronger, wiser, and more composed. It comes from the ability to remain calm when others panic, to maintain dignity when others complain, and to operate from a place of competence rather than desperation. That is rare. That is magnetic. Consider this. Most men spend their lives trying to perform for attention, validation, or approval. They chase recognition, they compete in superficial ways, and they exhaust themselves in the process. Meanwhile, the rare man does not need to prove himself. He has mastered the inner game. He does not rely on external validation. He understands that true power, true attraction comes from within, and that is why he is instantly noticeable, even if he says nothing at all. Women sense it, the world senses it. His rarity sets him apart without effort. Now, here's the fascinating psychological truth. Rarity amplifies attraction because humans are naturally drawn to what is difficult to obtain. This is not manipulation or gamesmanship. This is basic human instinct. Scarcity creates value. When a man embodies qualities that are rare in the men around him, confidence without arrogance, calm without coldness, emotional stability without detachment, he becomes exceptionally desirable. This is why younger women, who have experienced instability and inconsistency in the men around them, are so magnetically drawn to older men who have cultivated these traits. It is not a conscious decision, it is a primal response. And let's dig even deeper. Rarity does not just enhance attraction, it enhances influence. A rare man doesn't just pull people toward him romantically, he pulls people into his ideas, his vision, and his world. People listen when he speaks, not because he demands attention, but because his presence commands it. His rarity gives him credibility, authority, and respect. He is someone who naturally leads without trying, and that in itself is irresistibly attractive. It's a combination of competence, confidence, and subtle power that most men never achieve because they are too distracted by superficial concerns or too consumed by insecurities. This is why life experience matters so much. An older man who has lived, failed, reflected, and grown has something younger men rarely have: perspective. Perspective allows him to see what matters and what does not, to choose his battles wisely, and to respond to life with clarity instead of panic. This is rare because most people are trapped in their emotions, reacting instead of reflecting. When a woman encounters a man who has perspective, she senses it immediately. She senses the security, the calm, the reliability. She senses that he is different from anyone she has met before, and that rarity ignites attraction at a level that goes beyond superficial appeal. Here's the paradox: being rare does not mean being complicated or unapproachable. It means being authentic, consistent, and grounded in your values. It means being someone who is fully yourself, without masks or pretenses, while maintaining control over your emotions and actions. Most men try to impress, but the rare man doesn't. He simply is, and in that simplicity lies his power. Women, especially younger women, are drawn to authenticity combined with mastery because it represents security, strength, and competence, all qualities that most men fail to cultivate. Now imagine the impact of cultivating rarity in your own life. Imagine walking into any social situation, any relationship, any challenge, and standing apart effortlessly. Imagine being the man who does not need to compete for attention because your presence alone commands it. Imagine developing traits that most men never achieve: emotional resilience, calm authority, unwavering confidence, and inner mastery. That is what it means to be rare. That is what it means to be magnetic. And the most important part, this rarity is entirely within your control. You do not need wealth, fame, or physical perfection to be rare. You cultivate it by developing yourself internally, by mastering your mind and emotions, by responding instead of reacting, by learning from experience instead of being controlled by it. Every time you choose clarity over chaos, patience over impulsivity, self-awareness over insecurity, you become rarer, and with that, more magnetic. So here's the truth you must never forget. Attraction is not about superficial qualities. Attraction is about what is exceptional and rare. Most men are ordinary, reactive, and insecure. The man who is grounded, stable, and self-mastered is rare. And women, especially younger women, are instinctively drawn to rarity. When you cultivate it, you do not chase, you do not perform, and you do not plead for attention. You simply exist as someone exceptional in a world full of ordinary, and the world cannot help but notice. Remember this: rarity equals power, and power equals attraction. Be rare. Cultivate your inner strength, your calm, your composure, and your mastery over yourself. Stand apart from the crowd. Be the man who is exceptional, not because he seeks to impress, but because he has mastered himself. That is magnetic. That is irresistible. That is unforgettable. Now we come to something that very few people truly understand. Emotional groundedness and stability are powerful, but they are not the full picture. What truly makes a man irresistible, what elevates him from magnetic to unforgettable, is the combination of control with compassion. This is a subtle, almost paradoxical quality. Many men believe that to be attractive or powerful, they must dominate, suppress emotions, or detach themselves from others. That is not the case. True power, the kind that draws women in naturally, comes from mastering yourself while remaining deeply human, deeply aware of the needs and feelings of those around you. Control without compassion can become cold, distant, even threatening. Compassion without control can become weak, reactive, and chaotic. But when you combine the two, something extraordinary happens. You become a man who can handle the chaos of the world without losing yourself, yet still connect with people on a human, emotional level. You are firm yet gentle, decisive yet understanding, strong yet relatable. This combination is rare, it is magnetic, and it is almost impossible for women, especially younger women, to resist. Let's break this down. Control is the ability to master your own mind, your own emotions, your own life. It is the power to respond instead of react, to stay composed when situations are difficult, to think clearly in moments of stress or uncertainty. It is the internal strength that prevents panic, insecurity, or desperation from guiding your actions. A man with control does not lash out when confronted. He does not crumble when challenged. He does not beg for approval. He is steady, confident, and deliberate in every decision he makes. That control on its own is powerful. It commands respect. It signals competence. But control alone can sometimes create distance. It can make a man seem cold, detached, or unapproachable. That is where compassion comes in. Compassion is the ability to empathize, to understand, to connect. It is the emotional intelligence to recognize what others feel, to validate those emotions, and to act in ways that honor both your own values and the needs of those around you. Compassion allows a man to connect deeply with women because it communicates care, understanding, and humanity. It tells them, without words, that he can navigate life's challenges while still being attuned to their feelings and experiences. When you combine with compassion, you become something extraordinary. You are not ruled by your emotions, yet you are not blind to the emotions of others. You do not react impulsively, yet you are responsive in meaningful ways. You do not dominate or manipulate, yet you lead through example and integrity. That combination is rare because most men fail at one or both of these. They either have control without compassion, making them rigid and unrelatable, or they have compassion without control, making them reactive and inconsistent. The man who masters both becomes magnetic, not because he is flashy, but because he is whole, balanced, and self-possessed. Psychologically, this is fascinating. Women, especially younger women, are attracted to men who demonstrate both power and emotional intelligence. Power without empathy can feel threatening. Empathy without power can feel insecure. But when a man exhibits both, when he has mastered himself while still understanding and validating others, he becomes a safe harbor in a turbulent world. He is someone who can be counted on, someone who can navigate challenges without drama, someone who is both strong and nurturing. This is not a conscious calculation. Women feel it instinctively. They sense the balance, the harmony, and the energy of a man who has mastered this paradox. Philosophically, this speaks to the essence of human maturity. True strength is not domination, it is self-mastery. True connection is not attachment, it is presence. When you combine these two, you embody something timeless, the ability to live with integrity, resilience, and empathy. You attract not through superficial means, but through your energy, your presence, your mastery of self. That is why older men who have cultivated control with compassion have a magnetic pull that younger men rarely, if ever, achieve. They have faced life, they have learned, they have evolved, and they have become whole. Now, let's be very clear. Control with compassion does not mean you let people walk over you. It does not mean you compromise your boundaries, your principles, or your values. It means you exercise authority over yourself first, and from that place of strength, you engage the world with empathy and understanding. It is about mastering the balance between firmness and gentleness, between decisiveness and openness. That balance, once cultivated, becomes a force of attraction that is as natural as it is powerful. Consider the impact of this in daily life. In conversations, a man with control and compassion listens more than he speaks, but when he does speak, his words carry weight because they come from clarity and wisdom. In conflict, he does not escalate or react. He responds with calm reasoning and understanding. In relationships, he provides support without being controlling, guidance without being authoritarian. This is magnetic because it is rare, it is consistent, and it is authentic. Women recognize it instantly, often without knowing why. They feel it. They trust it. And that trust transforms attraction into deep admiration and connection. This is also a skill that grows over time. It is developed through self-awareness, reflection, and experience. Every time you practice patience instead of reaction, empathy instead of judgment, clarity instead of confusion, you strengthen both your control and your compassion. This is not a one-time achievement, it is a lifelong cultivation, and the more you develop it, the more magnetic and irresistible you become, not only to women but to everyone around you. Here's the most powerful insight: control and compassion are not opposites. They are complementary. Together, they create a presence that commands attention without effort, inspires respect without force, and draws people in without manipulation. Women feel this energy immediately. They sense that this man is rare, stable, grounded, and yet deeply human. They sense that he is someone who can handle life's chaos while still caring for their world. That is the kind of attraction that is lasting, profound, and unforgettable. So if you want to become irresistible, start by mastering both. Develop your inner control, your ability to navigate life without being ruled by emotions, fear, or external validation. At the same time, cultivate compassion, your ability to connect, empathize, and respond meaningfully to the needs and emotions of others. Balance these two, and you will become the kind of man who is magnetic, who commands respect, who attracts women naturally, and who leaves an unforgettable mark wherever he goes. Remember this: attraction is not about superficial traits. It is about presence, energy, and mastery. The man who combines control with compassion is rare. He is exceptional. And in a world full of reactive, insecure men, that rarity is a force of nature. Master this balance, and you will not just attract attention, you will inspire trust, admiration, and profound connection. You will become the kind of man women cannot resist, not because of what you have, but because of who you are. Now we arrive at the final, most important insight, and it is the one that ties everything together. The truth that most men never understand is this: attraction is not something you chase, it is not something you manufacture, and it is certainly not something you can force. Attraction is a byproduct of inner mastery. The man who has mastered himself, his mind, his emotions, his actions, and his energy, becomes magnetic almost effortlessly. Women, especially younger women, sense it immediately. It is subtle, invisible, yet profoundly powerful. This is why every other strategy, money, status, appearance, pales in comparison. If your inner world is weak, no amount of external effort will create real, lasting attraction. Inner mastery begins with understanding yourself. It begins with acknowledging your strengths and weaknesses, your fears and desires, your patterns and triggers. A man who avoids self-reflection, who blames others or circumstances for his failures, cannot attract at the deepest level. Why? Because women, and people in general, sense insecurity and chaos before they see anything else. They sense whether you are in control of yourself or whether you are at the mercy of your impulses and emotions. Mastery over the self communicates stability, confidence, and authenticity, and these are the qualities that create irresistible attraction. But inner mastery is not just about control, it is also about clarity. A man who knows himself knows what he wants from life, what he will accept, and what he will not. He moves through the world with intention rather than reaction. Every decision, every action, every word reflects his understanding of who he is and where he is going. This clarity is rare. Most people drift through life uncertain, reactive, and inconsistent. A man who has cultivated clarity and purpose stands out immediately because he is aligned with his values and his vision. Alignment is magnetic. People, especially women, sense it instinctively. They sense that this man is a force in his own life, and that force draws them in. Now consider the combination of the previous qualities: emotional groundedness, stability, rarity, control, and compassion. Inner mastery is the umbrella under which all of these traits exist. When a man develops mastery, he does not need to chase attention or validation. He does not need to perform or compete. His presence alone communicates everything: competence, security, wisdom, and care. Women feel this energy. They are drawn to it not because of superficial traits, but because it signals something far deeper, that this man has navigated life, learned from experience, and emerged stronger, wiser, and unshakable. Psychologically, this makes sense. Humans are wired to respond to energy and presence more than to external features. A man who is mastered internally emits a certain kind of energy, a calm, confident, authentic energy that women can feel without consciously analyzing it. It is not something he tries to project, it is something he simply embodies. That embodiment, being comfortable in your own skin, unshakable in your own mind, and consistent in your actions, is magnetic. It cannot be faked and it cannot be bought. It is the natural consequence of self-mastery. And here is a crucial insight. Mastery is attractive because it signals competence and reliability. In all areas of life, women, consciously or subconsciously, assess whether a man can navigate life's challenges. A man who is mastered internally has demonstrated, through his presence, that he can handle uncertainty, pressure, conflict, and change without falling apart. That demonstration communicates safety, stability, and trustworthiness, qualities that are far more attractive than temporary charm or physical appearance. Inner mastery is not performative, it is inherent. It grows from experience, reflection, discipline, and the willingness to face uncomfortable truths about oneself. Philosophically, this connects to the idea that real power is internal, not external. Society teaches men to chase external validation, wealth, status, approval, but those things are fleeting. They can be lost. Internal mastery, however, is permanent because it resides within. When a man invests in mastering his own mind, emotions, and actions, he becomes independent of the fluctuations of the world. He no longer relies on external factors to feel worthy or attractive. That independence, that inner sovereignty is magnetic. Women sense it, people sense it. The world cannot help but respond to it. Now, here is the subtle genius of inner mastery in terms of attraction. It does not require effort. A man who is mastered internally does not need to chase, manipulate, or impress. He does not need to scheme or pretend. His energy, his presence, and his confidence naturally attract attention. Women feel it instinctively, drawn to him because he embodies traits that are rare, stable, and aligned. Inner mastery is, in essence, effortless magnetism. It is the difference between trying desperately to impress and simply being someone worth noticing. Let's also be clear that inner mastery is dynamic. It is not a static state that you reach and then stop developing. Life constantly presents challenges, failures, and lessons. The man who is mastered internally continues to learn, continue to reflect, continue to grow. Each challenge becomes an opportunity to strengthen his self-awareness, emotional resilience, and alignment with his values. This ongoing cultivation ensures that his magnetism does not fade, it deepens over time. Women are drawn not only to who he is now, but to the trajectory of his growth. They sense that he is evolving, improving, and mastering himself more deeply every day. That ongoing evolution amplifies attraction. Imagine the impact of embracing this in your own life. Imagine approaching relationships, conversations, challenges, and opportunities from a place of inner mastery. Imagine that instead of reacting to the world, you respond thoughtfully and deliberately. Imagine that instead of seeking validation, you embody confidence and clarity. Imagine the magnetic presence you would radiate, the kind of presence that draws people to you effortlessly, commands respect, and creates deep admiration. That is the power of inner mastery and the final most important truth. Inner mastery does not just make you attractive to women. It transforms every aspect of your life. Your career, your friendships, your influence, your confidence, your resilience, all of it is amplified. Attraction is simply a natural byproduct of living at your highest level internally. When you focus on mastering yourself, the world responds. Women are drawn to you because your energy, presence, and alignment signal someone extraordinary. And that attraction is lasting because it is rooted in authenticity, not performance. So here's what you need to remember. Stop chasing attention, stop performing for approval, and stop trying to be someone you are not. Focus on yourself. Master your mind, master your emotions, master your actions. Cultivate clarity, calm, stability, control, compassion, and authenticity. Build a life that reflects your values and your purpose. When you do, attraction will not be something you need to force or manipulate. It will come to you naturally as a reflection of the man you have become. Remember this: attraction is not a strategy, it is a consequence. It is the natural outcome of being mastered internally, of being grounded, stable, rare, controlled, compassionate, and aligned. Become that man, and you will not only attract women, you will attract respect, admiration, trust, and influence. You will become unforgettable. And in the end, the most magnetic force in life is not money, status, or charm. It is mastery over yourself. That is the ultimate truth. That is your path to true, effortless attraction.